Hi, I'm Melissa. Today I'm going to show you how to make book page roses. First we're going to see what supplies we need. We just need a bunch of old recycled book pages or any paper that you want to use, scissors, a pencil, a ruler. You can use a regular page, but I happen to have a different page to make the stencil, and a hot glue gun. So we're going to begin with the stencil. I'm just marking out the measurements right now. I usually do a 4x4 inch square. You can make that square bigger or smaller if you want to have bigger or smaller roses. Now that we have our stencil, we can begin tracing the book pages. You're going to need to trace out 3 squares for 1 rose. Now just cut out your 3 squares. And now we can start folding. First we have to fold on the diagonal into a triangle. Do that with all 3 squares. Then you're going to fold it again in half. And again with all 3. Then you're going to fold it one last time in half. So in total you'll need to fold each square in half 3 times. Now we're going to start cutting. So you're going to cut the tip of the folded end off of all 3. Don't make it too small because that won't work later on for you. The hole will disappear. Now with your cut off side at the bottom, you're gonna use your pencil to trace a half circle onto the top. It kind of looks like an ice cream cone. Just like that. Make sure the 2 sides are even with each other. If you make them lopsided, then your petals will be lopsided. You can just trace it once and then use that as a template for your other 2. And then cut those all out. And then when you open it up, it's going to look like a nice 8-petaled flower. I'm just fixing up my work area, and now you're going to cut off some pieces. So this first flower, you're going to cut off one petal. The second flower, you're going to cut off 2 petals. And then the third flower, you guessed it, you're going to cut off 3 petals. And you'll be left with a 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, and 7 petal pieces. And now I have a paper quilling tool. If you're into paper quilling, you might have that as well. I use that to curl my petals, but you can use a toothpick. I usually use that. I just didn't have any on hand when I recorded this video, so I'm using the paper quilling tool. But you're going to take your toothpick and just curl the edges of the petal downwards. And you're going to do that with all of the petal pieces except for the 1 and the 2, and I'll show you how to do those after I finish curling all these. Now with the 1 and 2, we're going to do it a little bit differently. You're going to start from the side, and then you're just going to curl it all the way. Doesn't matter like the way that it goes, just let it do its thing, just curl it completely on there. And then you're going to open it up, and you're going to use your hands to kind of guide the bottom into a tight cone. And that's how you get the middle of your flower with these 2 pieces. So that's the 2 petal piece. And then you're going to do the same with the 1 petal. Start from the side and curl it all the way. And then you're going to open it up again and kind of guide it into the correct shape. This honestly is probably the hardest part of the entire craft. People seem to have a little bit of trouble with this, but once you get the hang of it, it works out really well. I've done this about 1,000,000 times now. That's why I can do it, no problem. But okay, so now we're gonna start hot gluing. So you can take your biggest petal piece and you're just gonna put some hot glue right along the edge, and you're gonna glue it together. You're gonna do this with your 3, 5, 6, and 7 petal pieces. So just glue all of those together. And then you're not going to glue you're not going to glue those 2. That's what I'm saying right there. Okay, next step is gluing our rows together. So that was just me counting. You're counting out because you want the 7 petal piece on the bottom, and then I have the 6 petal piece in my hand. You're gonna go biggest to smallest. So I'm putting a little bit of glue around the bottom, and then I'm gonna glue it together. You wanna maybe try and make the petals fall a little bit asymmetrical with each other. It'll just look a little bit better that way. Since it's a rose, it's not supposed to be perfect. And then I'm just gonna glue the rest of them on. So that's the 5 petal piece. And then the 3. Now with your 3 petal piece, you see how my hole got really tiny? I'm gonna end up telling you about that in a second. But so the bigger hole with the other petals, it's easier to put the pieces through the middle. So my 3 petal piece ended up going through the middle because I want it to be even with the rest of the flowers. I don't want it to stick out. And with these last two petal pieces, the 2 and the 1, you're gonna want to probably test it out before you actually glue it in. So my hole is too small here, so I ended up cutting it just a little bit so my 2 petal piece can fit through better. And I want to fit it through, or you can cut the bottom if you don't want like a point at the bottom, but you want it to fit through so it's even and it's not sticking out the top, because that's happened with a lot of the people that I've taught this to. So I just put my 2 petal piece in, and I'm just trying to make sure that it's the way I want it. See how it sticks out the bottom there. And then we're going to work on our last piece, the 1 petal. So I'm just putting some glue. And notice too, since it sticks out the bottom, I usually put it a little bit higher up on the petal. I don't put it right on the bottom of the petal. And now I'm sticking that one in too. And there we go. That is a finished book page rose. And now if you have floral wire, if you want to use it, you can get it off Amazon. It's relatively cheap. If I remember right, the bigger the gauge, the easier to bend. This is a lower gauge, so it's not so bendable, but I'd rather have it that way. And then I just put some glue on the bottom and I stuck it up the bottom of the rose. And that's it. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe so you can see more videos.